Calls back there, sending emails over here, letters to the editor. There are a lot of healthcare posters around. Please take one, put it in the window of your house so your neighbors see it when they come to visit you. There are some lawn signs over there for healthcare reform lawn signs. Please take one, put it on your front lawn, because that will send a signal to your neighbors that you support healthcare reform. And I bet you'll be surprised that a lot of your neighbors will be agreeing with you as well. I also want to finally recognize the Service Employees Union, because they are the largest union of healthcare workers in the country. And they have been particularly supportive in supporting national healthcare reform. So I just want to recognize them. We are now going to turn to our last campaign speaker, Dave Ivers, who's going to speak on behalf of the Metro Detroit AFL-CIO. He's going to talk about the campaign to get more jobs in America and more workers' rights as well. Dave Ivers.
My brothers and sisters, I'm not Sandra Williams. She's a little taller than me. She had a previous engagement. She had to be there. Actually, the agenda of the AFL-CIO is exactly what you've seen up on the stage. It's immigration reform. You know, it's health care for all. It's jobs. It's not loud enough. The reality is that everything has been said that really needs to be said about the issues that we're talking about here. Whether it be the jobs in getting reforming America into more green and energy efficiency. That helps not just our manufacturing workers, but it helps our construction workers. It helps everyone. You know, so we need to get off our duff and spend some money the right way. And again, Al hit us right there. I think you've heard enough about the facts, and I kind of wonder if there's anybody here that came in here skeptical of the issues you're hearing tonight. I think the most important thing for us to do is to talk to our neighbors. To talk to them. Sometimes it's not comfortable. Sometimes you have to push it. I'm going to tell you a couple little stories personally. A few years ago, I was asked to go out to Los Angeles and to negotiate the first labor agreement with the National Day Labor Organizing Network. It was a bunch of Latino workers that had demanded good, fair pay for a day's work. They had demanded $14 an hour and were getting it. And the Wall Street Journal, mind you, ran an article saying that these workers had demanded $14 an hour and got it. So the National AFL-CIO asked me to go out with a group to talk to these workers. And I'm honored to say that because of my operating engineer background, they asked me to stay and be part of the negotiating the first agreement. When I went out there, I had heard all the rhetoric about how they're taking our jobs. This is happening, that is happening. When I got out there and I sat across the table from this group of men and women that all they wanted to do was take care of their families. All they wanted to do is have health care. All they wanted to do is have a safe place to live, a safe place to work. And it's important, a safe place to work. Whether you're documented or undocumented, working in the way they do, they can't go to the hospital. They can't use no workers' comp, no nothing. So it ended up in a matter of a few days, we negotiated our contract. We had a very nice celebratory dinner, and I came home. But I went out there skeptical and came back with a very strong belief that a worker is a worker is a worker. It doesn't matter. I found out after my father died that he was an undocumented. It was a change in life for me. Last summer I was on a panel at Wayne State University. In fact, some of the people in the audience were there. And it was about the need for healthcare reform. And I gave my little bit. I've been wearing this button, healthcare for all, for over 10 years. And I've probably given away 300, 400 of them. My sister died without healthcare. But that's not the story I want to tell you about. I want to tell you about Wayne State University. I gave them my pitch. I told them my feelings about the need for meaningful health care. And preferably, at that time, we weren't talking about a government option. We were talking about a single payer. The reality of everybody should have health care. The most important thing, and it relates to the reason I'm standing up here, is jobs. After the presentation was over, and the panel was standing around, we're having a cup of coffee and talking, and the dean, one of the deans in the med school came up to me and said, Dave, you missed one of the important points. And I said, well, what was that? And he said, well, I don't know if you know it or not, but workers at Wayne State University, when they retire, have no health care. And I'm retired from Wayne State University, I knew that, so obviously. That's why, God bless, it's a very good union contract with the operating engineers, so I've got it. But the reality was that this dean said that half of my doctors in my department would like to retire. They're 55, they're 58, they're 59, they'd like to retire, and they've got good pensions, but they don't have health care. And these are doctors, mind you. They're afraid to retire and take on the burden of health care themselves until they're 65. Now, this guy this dean came up to me, and you think of deans, and you think of a medical school, you think of AMA, and this man was saying, we need single-payer health care now. So that's just two personal experiences from my end. I think the important thing to know is that labor's agenda is your agenda. We're in this together, and it's when we fight for minimum wage, we fight we're very effective in lobbying, and we've done it for everyone, not just for workers. And our brothers and sisters in manufacturing, our brothers and sisters in construction, we're all in it together. Whether you're a clerical worker, whatever, we're all there. And the reality is that most of us would like to join a union. The latest poll is over 50% of workers would like to join a union. Better than 70% of workers say that they think it's important for a worker to have the right to join a union. Well, we don't have that now. With the Employee Free Choice Act, that'd be the one thing that's not on the agenda here that I'd like to see. Everything was up here to my left and right, but I got for that. The Employee Free Choice Act is not taking away the right to vote on a contract. It's not at all. For the last 50 years, workers had a right to either have a voluntary card check or an election. Except the difference was the only person that had the decision making there was the employer. The employer decided whether you went to the election or you had voluntary recognition. I've participated in a number of voluntary recognitions where we had good employers that knew that we had skilled people and they wanted to have peace and harmony. That isn't the norm, but I've had that experience. But what we're asking is that both sides have that right. And workers should have the right to have voluntary recognition. Once you got 50% of the signed cards and you can show it to a third party, you've got a contract. I have seen workers fired. I've been an organizer. I've seen workers fired. I participated in an organizing drive that was the most evil thing in the world. One night we had 29 signed cards and 29 people ready to vote on a contract. The next morning they went to work and all the equipment was moved out of the shop. Everything was gone. None of them had jobs anymore. What does that do to them and their families when they start thinking union? We got the blame for that. And it was the employer by the knowing that we had to file the charges and what do? You don't win anything. It's all done. It's all done. So I mean, I'm really done here. I'm so proud of seeing this group here. But I think the most important thing is to go home and talk to your neighbors. Like I say, talk to your family. In my case, my family's pretty well all convinced because of my sister dying of lupus without health care. But the agenda is that we've all got to talk. I'm very disappointed at the number of seniors I'm hearing that are saying, I don't want no government intrusion on my Medicare. Stay out of